Whoa. Wow. Cheese. Holy shit. If you watch this channel, you know I love food projects. It's one of the main reasons I built this studio out. There's space to really explore and experiment. But when I was building the studio, I had no time to do that. So I've been desperately waiting to have a day or just some time to really experiment more. And today is that day. I have so many food projects, different fermentation stuff. And generally I would just make this and not film it, but I thought it would be pretty cool to take you behind the scenes because there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So get ready for what's probably way too many food projects for one day. Right now, Alex is kicking it off with the sourdough starter. So that's the first thing we'll do. Well, we just did it. Feed the sourdough starter because that takes like 4 or 5 hours to activate. So my sourdough starter was pretty dormant. It was in the fridge for a while. So Alex actually brought over hers. So it's never the best to travel with these. I mean, I've traveled with sourdough starters. I've taken mine to California for God's sakes, but it's hard to judge the results when your starter is traveling, but this is fed. We're gonna let that, actually, do we wanna put this in a warm place maybe?
Where?
The oven with the light on, just to speed it up. So we're gonna put the oven light on here. We should get like 10 more degrees of temperature, and we'll see this thing in about 4 hours when it's ready to hit the dough. So this site right here is really the best for cheese making. You can order all the supplies on here, and it has a whole list of recipes, and you can put in your ingredients and it will tell you what cheeses you can make. Full recipe below with pictures, and we're really just gonna follow it. Cheese making is just kind of following the steps. And what I love about food projects like cheese making, bread making, kombucha, you're always a little nervous at first. Any type of fermentation or molding process like cheese, it's scary, but I've done cheese making once and I already feel 100% more confident. I feel so much better about this second round, and I'm excited to keep growing and learning more skills, and that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna just experiment and learn new skills. So this, of course, is a special temperature controlled machine for beer, but it works great for cheese making. It kind of works as a double boiler, where this is controlled at the right temperature. So we pour water into here, and then we have this kettle with the milk in it, sitting in the double boiler, slowly coming up to temperature, which is good for cheese, so you don't have to worry about any type of burning. But you could just put this kettle right onto the burner and just slowly bring it up to temperature as well. All right, so our milk is, just about 98 degrees, well 99. So we're gonna add our cultures, go that right on the top and let that sit for 5 minutes to sort of hydrate in so you don't get lumps, and then we'll just stir it in. All right, so the milk has been sitting at 98 degrees for just a little over 60 minutes. We're gonna add our rennet for separating the curds and the whey, and then calcium chloride to help that process out. And then we'll just stir that in. We're gonna keep that at this temperature for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna turn the heat up and cook it for another 30. So it's been 30 minutes on the cheese. Check this out. See how that has coagulated? And you're just looking for a clean break. Pretty clean right there. We're gonna cut the curds and let them sit for 5 minutes. So you can see the whisk really cuts the curds into smaller pieces. And once they're cut down like this, now we're gonna stir at the 98 degree temp for 10 minutes. Then we're going to bring the cheese up to 118 degrees and cook it a bit. So this is a pretty cool process right here. You can see the curds. I'm just stirring the curds up, making sure they don't clump together too much. Right now, I'm set for 118, so I'm bringing this up to temperature. As you cook it and as you stir, the curds continue to lose whey, so they get a little more dense, and they really turn into serious cheese curds. They have that classic squeakiness, that chewiness. And you can eat these curds right now.
and they're delicious. I could eat a whole plate of those things. I have. Last time I made cheese, I ate so many curds, but these are just good on their own. Of course, this is how poutine is made, with cheese curds melted over fries. So once this hits temperature, once this is at 118, we're gonna keep it there and stir it for about another 20 minutes, and then we'll be ready to drain the cheese curds.
All right, so it's time to strain this whey off, and the curds should be settled in the bottom. Yep, I can see them. And I'm gonna save most of the whey, but I don't need it all, so I'll just save this much. I can make some ricotta with this. See the curds? Look at those beauties. It's amazing how little curds there are compared to whey with all of that milk. That's why cheese is expensive, my friends. All right, now I'm gonna press this cheese up, get it in our mold. I just got so excited to press the cheese that I completely forgot about the main reason I'm making this cheese, which is to add the special ingredient. So let me show you some real quick. So quick shout out to SOURDOUGH. Is that it? SOURDOUGH?
Yeah.
SOURDOUGH. I believe this is an Australian company. And look what, they sent me a whole bunch of cool stuff, including this beast right here, truffle slicer. But the star of the show. Wow. We're going to drain our curd mass. Look how that sticks together. Where's our truffle? Did you steal my truffle, Alex? Did you steal my goddamn truffle? Oh, look how that great. Oh my God. Looks like a nutmeg. So I'm just winging this. There's no recipes really for fresh truffle cheese out there. Maybe half of this thing. Wow. These are beautiful. Thank you, SOURDOUGH. This guy to the actual press. I'm gonna just apply right now 20 pounds of pressure, and we'll let that sit for about an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll flip it and we'll apply more pressure. So I was just telling Alex, you can see the spelt is on top, and obviously you need to feel it, but the difference is amazing because there's two main types of flour. There's soft and there's hard, and the spelt has a soft feel, which you would generally use for pastry, and then if you dig down to the bottom with the hard red winter wheat, it's denser compared to the lightness of the spelt. And we need to sift off a lot of the bran, which is the outer shell of the wheat grain. And to do that, it is very simple. You just take the flour, put it through a sifter, just sift like that, and most of the bran will stay, and you can reserve the bran for muffins. It's good for sourdough starters, and you'll have beautiful bread flour. So there you go. This is the bread flour, and then over here we have the sifted off bran. You can see it's super coarse. What did you think of your first time making?
It was fun.
It's fun,
and this
right?
is also like super soft.
It's soft. I know,
like
you see
powder.
that all flours are not made the same. It's inspiring to make bread like this way, right?
It is.
All right, we just decided on a bonus recipe. We're gonna make banana blueberry bran muffins. Alex, you have a recipe, or are you looking up a recipe?
I have a recipe, but I also have to look it up.
What do we got here?
Half a cup of shortening. I use oil, 1 cup sugar. I reduce that. Flour, baking soda, salt, 3 bananas.
Okay, so this isn't a bran muffin recipe. This
Oh
is...
no, but you can add bran to it.
Okay.
It's a very forgiving recipe.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have blueberry, walnut, banana, bran muffins with no egg, right?
Yep.
That's the only thing we didn't have, but Alex assures me that these will be delicious. So these are going in the oven for how long?
18 to 22 minutes.
See you for a delicious fermentation snack. Well, that's the only thing we're not fermenting. All right, 20 minutes. Let's see what we got. Ooh. Yummy. So ramen for lunch, followed by a
blueberry, walnut, banana bran muffin. And these are delicious. Good job, Alex. So I'm gonna take that flour and start working on the dough for the sourdough. And this is the auto-lease process where you're basically hydrating the dough. You're starting the gluten bonding. And of course, this isn't a full detailed recipe. So if you want the details and all the timing, make sure you click this link above. These are my sourdough timetables that will give you a checklist of all the proper timings to make sourdough around your schedule. If you're 9 to 5, if you're freelance, if you're a night owl person, these sourdough checklists will give you the perfect timetables. So I'm gonna use a mix of flours here. We're gonna go with half all-purpose, so 500 grams of all-purpose flour. And then we have another 500 grams of this fresh milled flour. This is the hard red wheat and the spelt. So I'm gonna keep the hydration levels at around 75% just because the olives will add a little bit of moisture. This, by the way, is a dough whisk. I know a lot of people ask when I use this tool, and it's great for mixing a wet dough like this.
It's called a Danish dough whisk.
A Danish dough whisk. And you can tell right here, this is actually pretty wet for just 75% hydration. Because we ground our fresh flour, and flour has much more moisture since it hasn't dried out. So you gotta take that into account when you are milling your own flour.
So our starter looks pretty active. You can see it started there. It's rose by more than double. So I'm gonna add this to our auto-lease dough, and we'll add a little bit of salt. Those are our main ingredients, and then the additional ingredients, the olives, and I think I'm gonna add figs, they'll come later. So I've got some olives here, and I've got some figs here. I've never tried this, so we'll see what happens, but I'm just gonna chop this up so we can add it to the sourdough. So I performed one stretch and fold on this, and you can see there's actually some pretty good gluten development already. I'm gonna add my olives and my figs, and I'll probably do 3 rounds of stretch and folding, including the one where I'm adding this right now. What I'm gonna do is let this bulk rise at room temp for maybe 2 hours to gain a little bit of size, and then I'm gonna let it sit in the fridge overnight to ferment. So, here we go. Fermented kombucha. So I made this about 10 days ago. I gotta give it a try, but I think this is ready for the second fermentation or the carbonation process, which is just adding flavor to your kombucha and bottling it up for carbonation. Now I have a ton of videos online for making kombucha, but if you want all of the details on this tricked out set, this is my ultimate kombucha brewing kit. Makes perfect kombucha every time. We got the heat wrap, thermometer, volume marked off here, everything you need for perfect kombucha. Click the link right there for all of the information on this set. So back over to here. What I have right here is some Concord grape juice. I juiced this when the grapes were in season a few months ago, and then I froze it because I love Concord grape kombucha. So I'm gonna pour this in some of those glass jars right there, and then we'll add our kombucha and let it ferment. Right, so now the best part about this setup is you just bring it over to your tap and you top off your bottle. They get a little bubbly, so you just let that settle, move on, and then you can go back to that last one. But there you go, we will cap these off. We're gonna let these sit for about, it depends, maybe it's cold right now in the studio, so it could take up to a week if it's hot. 2-3 days, but luckily we don't have to wait that long because I made a batch of Concord grape that I still have in the fridge ready for consumption. All right, add another food project to the list. It's getting insane over here. So I remember hearing that you can make ricotta using just whey. And I looked it up,
How to make whey ricotta.
Traditional ricotta cheese is made using whey left over from cheese making or drained from yogurt. While not as sweet or creamy as ricotta made using whole milk, traditional ricotta is a wonderful way to utilize whey that might be normally discarded.
So what it's saying is you can use a gallon of milk with the whey, which increases the yield, but it's optional. And I don't have extra milk, so I'm just gonna try to use only the whey and see what we get. This is very exciting, possibly a game changer for cheese making. It was meant to be because I strained this right into the perfect pot. So what I'm gonna do is slowly heat this up to 195, and then all you do is stir in some vinegar. So we brought the whey up to temperature. It's almost at 190 there, making sure to not let it boil over. Alex is gonna add half a cup of vinegar, and this again will curdle it and hopefully separate the rest of the fat. Oh, you can take it off the heat now. Just give that a stir. Whoa, oh my God. Check that out, my friends. We've got our ricotta draining. It needs the gravity, so it has to be hung. It's straining under its own weight into there. So there's already a ton of whey coming off. We're gonna let that sit for at least an hour. The longer, of course, the thicker the ricotta. I've never done this, so I'll start with an hour and go from there. You can see how much whey, check that out. All of that whey has come out, so let's see what's going on in here. Whoa. Wow, truffle cheese. Holy shit. Oh my God. Wow, that is incredible. And a really good form. This isn't the final form. Wow, that's special right there. The truffle. Oh my God. I hope this works because it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna flip it over. So the recipe says 25 pounds of force for 4 to 6 hours. I won't be here in 4 to 6 hours, so I'm just gonna do like 22 pounds for overnight and see what happens. It'll probably be a little firmer, but that's all right. So we've been at it all day, and that's a wrap for the day. Tomorrow we'll bake off the sourdough. I got this ready to go into the fridge. I want to sample some kombucha tomorrow. Is there anything else we have to do? Oh, we have to finish off this too. Never mind. We're not done. I'm gonna show you this real quick because this is done draining. That's like a nice mozzarella ball size of ricotta cheese. Again, some fresh truffle. No. Not that much, but definitely worth doing. I mean, that's like a nice serving of ricotta right there. Oh my God, that is good. Oh my God, try that. Try that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to compare it to.
Like normal ricotta is usually bullshit unless you're like in Italy.
It's so good.
It's so good. Worth sitting over the stove and waiting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You go through all of this effort to make aged cheese. It's not an easy process. It takes, you saw, it takes time. And then you have to age it so you don't get the reward till a few months down the line. This is like a quick little reward you get right after. So you still get some product and you don't have to wait months. So day 2 on our food project adventure. We've got the dough shaped, pretty sticky, wasn't the easiest, but it's done. So I'm really excited to see how those turn out. The cheese is done pressing, so I'm gonna take that out. So I do have to brine the cheese, that's the last step, and then it goes into the aging cave. So let's check out this cheese real quick.
So the last step in the cheese making process Ooh. Oops. Oh, son of a... This is just really salty water with a little bit of vinegar. And if it doesn't cover the top, you can hit it with a little bit of salt. And it's gonna stay in there for 3 hours, and I'm gonna flip it over at an hour and a half.
But I'll preheat my oven to 500 degrees. Let that go for about 45 minutes until we're ready to bake the loaves. Parchment paper. So there'll probably be a lot of excess flour. Yeah, I used a lot of flour because it was a pretty wet dough. Brush that off. Into the oven at 500 for 20 minutes. All right, 20 minutes up. Very interested in what is going on here. All right, not the greatest oven spring, but we've got bread back in at 450 for another 20 minutes. All right, there you go, just came out of the oven. Now this is a really weak rise, probably one of the weakest breads I've made in a while. Probably didn't help that the sourdough starter traveled from Alex's house to here on the same day that we baked. But the best part about sourdough is, one, you're gonna learn every time you bake. I learned a valuable lesson there. And two, this is still gonna be delicious. It might be a little more dense, but I'm so excited to try the flavor of fig and olive, which I've never had before. You also never wanna cut into it when it's hot. But I'm breaking another rule there because I haven't eaten anything and I'm starving. You know what? It actually has a pretty light crumb. Again, you can see like there's so much steam coming off that. You want the steam to actually continue to cook the bread or your texture will change, but it's like, you know, to eat hot bread straight out of the oven is not the worst. And I'll probably eat this whole thing right now for lunch with Alex, of course. We got our bread, we got our truffle ricotta from yesterday. It's a little bit of salt.
That's so good.
Yeah. Now that is a celebration of fermentation, of home crafted goods right there. Homemade fresh truffle ricotta with a fig and olive sourdough straight out of the oven. Oh my God. I can't even
It's
speak.
so good. It's like hot bread and like cold cheese and the truffles.
That's why I couldn't wait. All right, there's one more thing. We have to sample kombucha. All right, like I said before, I made those Concord grape kombuchas and they have to ferment, but I had a batch that was actually ready to go in the fridge, chilled, carbonated. Oh, not on the bread! Oh my God. Oh my, come on. Beautiful Concord grape kombucha right there. Cheers.
I think this one's my favorite one that you've made. It's not like the bubbles aren't like as harsh.
Alex doesn't like intense carbonation.
Yeah.
But I was explaining that this is effervescence right here. This is natural carbonation, small bubbles compared to like a soda, like a Coca-Cola, which is forced carbonation, which is why it hurts when you drink it. Like if you get a Coke from McDonald's with those wide straws and like hits you and it's like, why does this hurt to drink? It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, no, this one's great.
This was a marathon, but there's nothing better than food projects. I don't necessarily suggest making 15 at once. Remember, if you want the sourdough checklist guides, you can click below, and also the kombucha kit. If you want to see how I put together my kit for making kombucha, that is just absolutely incredible. Click the link below. And let me know if you like this style of video, behind the scenes recipe testing, experimenting, because there's plenty more experimenting coming to you soon. All right, let's do a little check-in here. This is the cheese cave. We open up this boy. It's just a mini fridge that's converted. You can see I've got two. I lied to you guys. The truffle cheese was my second cheese I ever made. This cheddar was made a week before. So in total, this has been aging for around 5 days, I would say. And I just flip it every few days. And it's looking good. No mold growth yet or nothing really going on. And basically, if you want your own cheese cave, it's really simple. You just get one of these machines. months. This thing right here plugs into your fridge and your humidifier. And what it does is it controls the temperature of the fridge and the humidifier. So I have it set for 50 degrees in the fridge and 80% humidity. And when it gets too cold or too humid, it just turns off these machines. So it's pretty simple regulation, but these cheeses will be aging for months, and I hope to fill up this whole thing and keep you guys updated on the entire journey. Follow me at Life by Mike G for daily updates, and I'll be doing a taste test video once these babies are fully aged.